And now let's go into this video that talks about RFK could be on the debate stage, and I've seen several segments where they're like, yeah, RFK, he's polling as such, consistently polling and nationwide now that he's an independent, that this guy, he could likely hit the threshold to be on the debate stage.
It's
And it hasn't
there's
happened since Ross Perot. But go ahead, Kid, before
well,
we get to the
yeah,
video.
and look, I think we all have our criticism for RFK Jr., but it would be a sight to see. But I do want to tell everyone again, ballot access is going to be key because you could be on a debate stage, but writing one person's name in each state is different. And ballot access,
Yes.
ballot access, ballot access, and this goes for all candidates from Dr. West, Jill Stein, whoever the Libertarian nominee is going to be. If you're not on the ballot, well, then you might as well kiss your wazoo goodbye. I mean, yes, you can make it on the debate stage, but if you don't secure that, then you're not going to gain any
This is
kind of
this is
favorability
why
whatsoever.
this is why I say people should not look at the independent candidacy of Cornel West and the independent candidacy of RFK as the same. They're not as the same
No,
at all. You
no,
have one that's going to get 8% of zero because they don't have the infrastructure to get on any ballots, not any ballots that's going to
precisely,
matter. Right. So,
precisely,
and then you
precisely.
have a guy who is still down with Israel, and maybe this is the reason why I'm giving him the benefit of doubt that he's just not a terrible person, but that he's going to have the ability and is already raising money. Is going to have the ability to raise money, especially from those sort of like non-establishment libertarian sort of leaning billionaires and millionaires. He's going to get money to be able to pay people to get on ballots. Like we always say here when Keaton is here, we're talking about 500,000 signatures just in Texas and California alone. You
Right.
know what type of how many people you need on the ground to
Yep.
collect those type of signatures in a particular amount of time. So they're not built the same. I absolutely
No.
believe that a RFK independent candidacy would do a lot better. If not, just maybe I'll just say a better, not a lot. I'll take a lot out.
I think
Better
it'll
than the Cornell
supersede
West.
what I think it'll supersede what West and Dr. Joe Stein of the Green Party can do, because I already know at this point the Libertarians have secured about 40 states as it stands right now for ballot access. RFK Jr. could pull it off. The Greens and West, though, it'll be a miracle if they're able to pull it off. And you mentioned California and Texas, and I'll just end it here. But in Illinois, my state is notoriously corrupt, and the Illinois Greens and the Illinois Libertarians have to get at least, at the bare minimum, 50,000 signatures just to secure a candidate to be on the ballot. That's how tough my state is. And if you don't dot your I's right, if you don't cross your T's right properly, then that name is gone. And there's been so many times when the Illinois Libertarian Party and the Illinois Green Party has gone to the Illinois Supreme Court just to fight to have their candidates on the ballot. There's never been a time when they didn't have to go ahead and file with the Illinois State Court, or state courts. I mean, apologies for that.
Yeah, I've seen a documentary on the corruption of Illinois and Chicago. I think it was the governor is just like I've seen
Number
it. So
one.
I feel for you, my brother. But let's move right into this next segment. It's connected to this last one, and that is RFK possibly being on a debate stage in the general election. We already kind of started, but this video talks about two things. It talks about that RFK being on a debate stage, but then they also bring in this other part. If you look at the caption there, it says where Chuck says, "I guarantee Joe Biden will not debate anyone." This is the first time I'm hearing. I mean, we kind of talk about this. He's not going to debate. Look at his condition. This is the first time I'm hearing, and to me, this is somebody with at least credibility in the establishment. If he's saying this, to me, it has a little weight. So let's listen a little bit to this video talking about that. Let's listen.
That of power in politics and the latest on the state of the 2024 race.
The Commission on Presidential Debates announcing Monday the dates and locations for 3 presidential debates between September and October and 1 vice presidential debate. For more on the announcement and how polling could impact the debates, I want to bring in NBC's chief political analyst, Chuck Todd. Chuck, I want to start with some numbers that caught our eye in first read. According to NBC News polling, in a head-to-head match, a generic Republican is up 11 points over Biden, and a generic Democrat is up 6 points against Trump. And then there's this. The New York Post is reporting that RFK Jr. could be.
That's a devastating poll because it's side by side, and it's indicating that Biden is doing worse than Trump, even though both of them lose. I mean, a lot of polls, a 6% gap would fall within very close to the margin of error, if not in the margin of error. Whereas I've never seen an 11-point margin of error. So this is a clear win, and this is closer to the margin of error to me. All the signs are saying Joe Biden should drop out of the race, but he's not taking heed to that. Go ahead.
All the signs are also showing that people don't want to see Biden versus Trump again. 2 old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup.
True.
No one wants to see that.
All right, is reporting that RFK Jr. could be the first third-party candidate to reach the debate stage in more than 30 years.
Let me read the caption and just think about what he just said there. But the headline there from the New York Post on the screen: presidential debates set for Texas, Virginia, and Utah as RFK looks to be first independent on stage in 3 decades. Wow.
Yeah, since Ross Perot. Ross Perot was in the debates.
Yes. And I remember that. I was very, very young. But I remember it because I remember my parents. My dad was the political one. We hear him talk about the news and the things that's going on in the world. And I just remember the sentiment about that race being that people felt like the candidates had to pander because there was a third party there instead of the normal sort of GOP and Democratic lines. I remember that sort of being out in the air at the time. But I don't think I've seen either of you do a segment on this particular news story that RFK. Oh, you have. So then tell me what you think about RFK or the possibility of him making the stage before I continue with the video clip here.
Well, okay, so RFK Jr. being on the debate stage, excluding my criticism of it, I think it would be something that the American people haven't seen since Ross Perot, and he very well could pull off, maybe not get an absolute win, but enough to secure enough votes to be on par with what Jesse Ventura did in Minnesota, because he was viewed as a joke candidate by both the Democratic and Republican establishments at the time when Jesse Ventura was running for governor. And as soon as he was able to make it on the debate stage, he single-handedly defeated both those candidates up there and won the governorship. Now, winning a governorship and winning the presidency are 2 different things altogether. And the establishment has made it abundantly clear how they view RFK Jr. on some of his other stances. He's already their villain, and they don't like the fact of what he could do potentially to both Biden and to some extent Trump, even though the establishment has its problems with Trump. RFK Jr. being on there is a moment in history because we've never seen an independent third-party candidate be on the stage, save for Ross Perot, who, mind you, was proven correct about NAFTA. People laughed at him when he made that vacuum cleaner noise. People aren't laughing now. So there is some historic things to take away from this. But could he win enough votes to secure the presidency? I don't want to say that on this network or even on my network, you know, in regards to what he can pull off.
I hear you. All right, so let's get back to the Case Study QB clip, and shout out to Case Study for clipping this clip from the cable news network. Let's listen.
To make the stage, candidates have to reach at least 15%.
Let me just stop here. I need to just see this number. Let this set in.
Damn.
With Robert Kennedy in the race, look at the distance. So do you think he's taking from Joe Biden or Donald Trump more than the other? Maybe it's even, because with him not in the race, isn't it very similar numbers in some of these battleground? I mean, I've seen 11 points in Nevada, but I've seen as little as 3 points. But so maybe the middle is around 6 points. Is bearing out about the same. So maybe he draws if we're using their language. It just means there's another person in the race that that he fits better, that fits 16% of the people better than if he was not in the race. But let's play a little more, and then Keaton, if you want to chime in, sir.
And in national polls, and right now, according to Real Clear Politics and their average, RFK Jr. is at 16.7. So, first question is simple: could we see 3 candidates on the debate stage next year?
In theory, we could, but not if Donald Trump is one of them. I think if Donald Trump is a Republican nominee, Joe Biden's not debating. And I don't know if Joe Biden's going to debate anybody, but I'm pretty confident, and I say this not as just some willy-nilly prediction, Tom, but I'm pretty confident that the White House has no interest in ever debating Donald Trump again.
Then why?
Okay,
why
so
was
why would Chuck Todd be so solid, Keaton and Kit, in his? Oh no, this is never happening. With
Donald this is what makes the RFK question interesting. This is what makes the RFK question interesting, because if RFK doesn't qualify for the debate, right? So he's not eligible to debate. That makes it very easy for Joe Biden to just say, well, I'm not debating Donald Trump, in which case there will be no debates, right? If RFK does qualify for the debate, then Joe Biden can't really duck the debate, because if Joe Biden doesn't want to participate, at that point, it's RFK versus Trump on the debate stage. And that puts Joe Biden in a very, very difficult spot. Because how are you going to win an election when you're not participating in a debate that is ongoing, where it's Trump and RFK? At that point, that's a major boon for RFK. And that's pretty much Joe Biden's candidacy just going up in smoke right there. So if RFK qualifies, then Biden really has to debate. If RFK doesn't qualify, then Biden can duck it. So that's where, from a horse race standpoint, this does get a little interesting.
Could you imagine, though, what if he were to lose the election? Let's take RFK out. It's just him. If he were to lose the election and not have debated, like, how would they not blame it on him not debating? Like, I know they will find a way. Believe me, I understand. They will find a way to say, hey, it's something else, just like they said with Hillary Clinton. But I don't see how they would not be able to debate that, to say it wasn't the debates, that him not attending the debates. Now, if they add RFK, could you imagine RFK, Donald Trump there, both arguing against funding Ukraine, and then Joe Biden is the lone one saying we need to fund Ukraine? I would love to see. That's what I would love to see.
Well, look, absolutely. I mean, that's a good point too. Like, Biden going up against RFK and Trump presents a problem for Biden as well. But I just can't imagine Biden skipping the debate if RFK qualifies, because at that point, Biden is just ceding so much support to RFK by not showing up, because then in the voters' minds, this is not a race between Biden, Trump, and RFK. It's a race at that point between RFK and Trump, since they're the ones who showed up. And as to this question, is RFK going to take more from Biden than Trump? I think he will hurt Biden in the end more than Trump for two reasons, and I've said this a few different times. But first, Trump's base is much more loyal to Donald Trump than Joe Biden's base is to Joe Biden. So Joe Biden's voters are more available to a third-party candidate than are Trump's. And second, RFK, with a couple of notable exceptions, is pretty much a mainstream liberal. Like, on a lot of issues, he's a liberal. He's called the NRA a terrorist organization. That's a non-starter for half of the Republican base right there, right off the bat. He's pro-choice. He's an environmental lawyer. Like, he is mostly a liberal. And so at the end of the day, why would a Trump supporter vote for RFK if Donald Trump is on the ballot? Why? There just aren't as many of them as those who maybe are would-be Biden voters who want a more attractive option than Joe Biden. And that's why, if RFK qualifies for the debate stage, Biden has to show up, because if he doesn't show up at that point, he's going to be ceding a lot of ground to RFK.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And
I also want to pull up something else here too. The only other time there was a debate, safer, was Ross Perot. In the 1980 presidential debates, there was Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and John B. Anderson. And it should be pointed out that Carter didn't participate in the first Baltimore Convention Center, the first debate. He was absent. Anderson and Reagan debated. And that was for somewhat of a small boost for Anderson's campaign. He was running as an independent. Second debate, it was Carter versus Reagan, where Reagan obviously demolished Carter, and Anderson was not present. If there is to be a debate between RFK Jr. and Donald Trump, I think not only would it hurt Biden systematically, but I mean, there's no way he could recover from it.
No, it would eliminate him. It would eliminate him.
And the thing is too, and I'll just ask you to this right now. Can even Biden debate at all? Period. Let's say there's going to be a debate. Can he even hold together a coherent sentence against two people who I'll make the argument? Look, I got my criticism of Trump, and I can make fun of him too. I could make my criticism towards RFK Jr., but they're going to run circles around Biden. He can't. He just can't. He doesn't project confidence or intelligence. Biden is just not all there. He's going to be stuttering, stammering, and it's going to be embarrassing and cringe to watch.
Yeah, let's listen further to what Todd says. And I was just surprised when he said it. He was so like saying that he knows this is sure.
Yeah, very, very confident.
I think if Donald Trump is a Republican nominee, Joe Biden's not debating. And I don't know if Joe Biden's going to debate anybody. But I'm pretty confident, and I say this not as just some willy-nilly prediction, Tom, but I'm pretty confident that the White House has no interest in ever debating Donald Trump again. And I know in talking with some people over there that they feel comfortable with that position if they end up making that, I don't think they don't have to make a final decision. They don't know who the nominees are going to be. But they have noted that Donald Trump didn't do any of his debates. So
how are they going to say that when Joe Biden didn't do any of his debates in the primaries too?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah, it's such a ridiculous.
Exactly. Number one, it's apples and oranges. You're comparing a primary debate to a general election debate. And number two, you're right. Biden skipped the primary debates as well.
Yeah, so he did do that. But point taken.
Why should he feel any pressure to do general election debates that he's involved in? So that's why I think it's a huge caveat here. Donald Trump's a nominee. We're not having normal presidential debates. I promise you that.
But you also said, and this is a lot, I mean, for viewers who may be hearing this for the first time.
I can't get past, why is he so confident? Who has
probably
he talked to
people,
where he knows?
They all know each other.
These are Washington-based reporters. He probably has the ear of some people who are telling him that.
Yeah. Now, this is one of those things where you're trying to say, well, we don't know if he's going to debate. Yeah, you are saying he's not debating because if you look at the poll numbers on who's going to be the GOP candidate, you know who's. So if you set this sort of marker, you're essentially saying I'm not debating, and I'm telling you up front now. And it's because, and don't think that anybody's going to buy that it's because he didn't debate in his primary. Everybody's gonna understand this because you clearly have lost a step cognitively and you're afraid to go against them. I think it's gonna backfire. I don't see this ending up well for them at all. So let's listen to a little more video. Let me know if you want to stop. We're a little less than halfway.
I know this has been reported out there, but if you have, say, a Nikki Haley or a Ron DeSantis, you're also saying
those two, they're not going to make it.
The current President Biden, will not attend the debates.
Yeah, I think there's a strong chance of that. I don't know what the debates are. When you're the incumbent, doing a debate, you do because you have to, not because you want to, right? That's number one. And the minute you do it, you have leveled the playing field. Well, if they're concerned about his ability, about his nimbleness, and you look at the way
this is It's so.
That's not true. I mean, that's just absolute bullshit. You do debates as a matter of course.
Right.
Goes,
It's tradition at this point. I mean, I don't want to use that argument. Usually candidates debate. I mean, it's been happening since I was a kid. I've never seen where a president refuses to debate.
No, it never happens. Obama was beating Romney by a mile. He debated him, and then he had a bad debate, and Romney almost caught up to him. Bill Clinton was beating Bob Dole. He was blowing him out of the water in 1996. There was no way Bob Dole was ever going to win that election. Clinton debated him, right? I mean, it's normal. It's normal. It's unbelievable how they just say whatever the fuck they want, and their audience is so stupid that they just absorb it.
That's
no matter
what they're also trying to do. I think, in many ways, what Chuck Todd is trying to do, and failing, by the way, is that Trump has made it clear he hasn't participated in the Republican primary debates. In many ways, that's boosted him up more so than participating, right? And what Chuck Todd is saying, well, Biden can do the same thing too. No, Biden can't, because Biden can't pull in a crowd like Trump. Biden can't pull in the numbers like when Trump was being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. He can't do that. And so they're trying to project this and failing miserably at the same time. So for all the Vote Blue, no matter who sycophants, if you're believing this, fine. Have the rubber meet the road. If there is going to be a debate, and let's say RFK Jr. is going to be there, Biden has to show up. If he is as sharp as people say he is, he has to be there to project the confidence so that all of you can be proven correct. But since none of you want to take that risk, you want to say, well, he's not going to show up. He's not going to debate Trump. Well, then fine. That's going to be plenty of political ammunition for Trump and anybody else that's running against Biden in 2024. And I'm just going to sit back and relax and laugh at the show while the Democrat ship sinks further and further to the ocean. Bottom of the ocean, that is. Sorry about that.
Do because you have to, not because you want to, right? That's number one. And the minute you do it, you have leveled the playing field. Well, if they're concerned.
Now, this is the part I just want to read, not rewinding, because I want everybody to hear this part again. This is a window into confirming that they understand that Joe Biden has lost a step. So them projecting, this is just an age. They're both the same. They clearly know that they're both not the same. And you listen to the little words they use. Nimble. These are substitute words they're using to describe his obvious, visible cognitive decline that nobody wants to use that language. So they use these sort of niced up words. And he uses nimble in another word in this instance. Just listen closely.
About his ability, about his nimbleness. And you look at the way they protect him now and how, little even regular media interaction he has. I just, the debates didn't go that well the last time, but Donald Trump was the meltdown when it, and that sort of grabbed a lion's share of the attention. Look,
isn't that? But I mean, Chuck, as somebody who
in
talks
and around the president,
Chuck, you're somebody who talks.
He wants to debate, right. Tom. By the way, for what it's worth, he wants to debate. Nobody around him wants to debate.
Yeah, as somebody who talks a lot about the process, right? About the democratic process.
What value, Keaton and Kit, is it to say that the 80-some-odd-year-old man who has dementia wants to debate? What good is it to say that the guy with the tinfoil hat over there in the corner wants to debate? What good is that to add that? For what it's worth?
Yeah, I think they're trying to have it both ways there. I think they're trying to have it both ways there. They're trying to paint it, whereas no, Biden's good to go. Biden says he's good to go. He's the pitcher who wants the ball, right? But it's just the coach saying no. We don't have to do it.
Wait a minute. So hold on. Look, and maybe this might have been jet lag impacting him, but remember when Biden flew out to Vietnam and when he was having that horrible press conference? You know what Biden said to the entire press conference? I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go to bed. That's Joe Biden, our president.
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed.
I don't know about you guys. I've heard my elder relatives say that. God rest his soul. My grandpa would sometimes say the same thing too when we had dinner events. He'd be like, with family, like, "Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I'm going to sleep."
All right, that's enough.
When you're at that age and you say that, does that project confidence? Blue. That's your dog in the race? Bernie, AOC, you gave your integrity to endorse that guy right off the bat? He could debate Trump? Well, gee, maybe Chuck Todd's onto something. Maybe if you want to save yourself embarrassment, don't have Biden debate Trump. I mean, there you go. He'll have more dignity. But he's going to have to do it. If he's going to be their nominee, he has to debate them, whether they want it or not. You could drug him up as much as you can. It's still going to be one big shite show.
I can't imagine that he's down in the polls in these battleground states, like clearly, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to debate. That would be just weird to me, and it would have a reaction even from establishment Dems as a, what the hell are you kind of doing, Joe Biden?
Don't you think the voters deserve a debate?
Well, yes, I think debates are a good thing. I think candidates worry about debates too much. I think that, the fewer debates you have, sometimes the more the more importance they take on. I think 3 or 4 or 5 debates in a series is a healthy way to see everything. And I think I do think they're very important and very relevant. I don't think Donald Trump, though, treats the process with the same reverence that you and I are talking about, though, and frankly, any other candidate has ever done.
No, I get it, but then if President Biden, I know we're speaking in hypotheticals here, if President Biden doesn't attend a debate or chooses not to, I mean, you're going to have that same conversation with President Biden, and I got to ask you, I mean, it's going to be strange now if you have a debate and the Democratic candidate's not there, and somehow a third-party candidate like RFK Jr. is on the stage with Donald Trump.
That's not unprecedented.
I have no idea,
It's actually not unprecedented. So in 1980, Jimmy Carter refused to debate Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Did not want to debate Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan accepted a debate with John Anderson, who was the third-party candidate that year, and he had done well enough to qualify for the major presidential debates.
And what happened to Jimmy Carter?
Then lost in one of the most historic landslides ever.
In history. And there's a very good possibility.
Clowns.
And there is a very good possibility with the amount of failures surrounding the Biden-Harris administration that Trump could win an absolute landslide victory too.
Hey, Jimmy Carter skipped a debate. Hey, it worked out good for him. Yeah, it didn't seem to hurt him at all.
Yeah, I don't understand. What are you proving by saying
that's a
Jimmy
great
Carter
re-election campaign to model yourself after? Is the Jimmy Carter's re-election campaign? Yeah,
and you know what? If we were to compare his candidacy to anyone, I would say it is Jimmy Carter. I would say it is Jimmy Carter. It's kind of where people already felt like, man, this guy may not have a good chance here. Mm-hmm. Like it was already a feeling.
He's definitely the weakest incumbent since Jimmy Carter from a horse race standpoint. Yeah, no question about it.